Dzień dobry, witamy Państwa na Igrzyskach Wolności w Łodzi.
Welcome at the Freedom Games in Łódź. Welcome everyone in the room and welcome everyone who's with us online. And today we are going to discuss a very heated topic. Twitter users or ex-users divided into teams. Two different concepts for Central Airport in Poland. Each Polish person has their own opinion about Central Airport in Poland and how that topic should be approached. Can we have any meaningful discussion about it? Alan Beroud, PKUSA President, CEO, Robert Kolczyński, Secretary of the Łódź Region, Voivodeship, Jarosław Stępień, the former Minister for Infrastructure, Piotr Malepszak, the current Minister for Infrastructure, and Dariusz Joński, the member of the European Parliament, who your party has just rebranded last night with the new image, with the new name that everyone was looking forward to. Yes, stronger, more powerful, with a more powerful voice. And in terms of the infrastructure, nothing has changed. So are you going to proclaim Central Polish Airport? Yes, yes, and the fast trains and investments in the railway development, because this is one of the most important infrastructure projects. That would be quite a breakthrough, both railway projects and the Central Airport. And we are rebranding, renaming. The very fact that we are joining forces doesn't change anything. I think it changes things in terms that we are going to accelerate and we are going to take better advantage of the European capabilities, because it would be useful to have the European helpful hand and to have Europe providing some funding for these challenging projects. Obviously, we will ask about the details later on, but my name is Karol Surówka, and let me start with questions to a member of the European Parliament. Would you ever think that this topic of the Central Airport would be so contagious, and it would be one of the main topics of the presidential campaign, and then the president would have one of the very first initiatives regarding this project? I think that this is just the Polish sort of nature, that one party or one fraction is trying to monopolize one investment project. It hasn't been really quite a project yet, because if we were speaking about airports, the only airport that was rebuilt from scratch and the budget was 800 million was the airport in Radom, and they have one flight per week. So over the next years, we will have to pay another 800 million to keep it in place. This is the same as the power station built in Ostrołęka, where we actually burned 2 billion zlotys. So I'm just saying that the whole concept of the Central Airport in Poland should be something that brings everyone together. If we want to build it, this is not a project for 2 years or 4 years. This is a project that is long-term. So I would really try to persuade the other side of the political scene to unite forces behind this project, because this is a humongous project, an investment, and the European Union is not providing funding for it. We have to come with a different way to do it. The European Union is willing to pay for the development of the railway system. And that makes sense. Actually, we are here in Łódź, and in Łódź we are launching the project for the fast train. And I've heard that very soon we are going to have the very first launch of the first section of 4-kilometer of railway for the fast train that would be bringing Warsaw, bridging the Warsaw and Łódź. And hopefully, once the war in Ukraine ends, we will go further east, reaching to Kiev. And everything should be connected to the airport. It makes sense. But no one should claim ownership of this project, no political party. So, whether this is So what is the concept, the why concept or the spokesperson concept? Let me just explain what this acronym means. When we speak Y or spokes, is about how we are going to build the railway system, whether it would be Y, so Y, or whether it would be spokes. So from Warsaw going west to Łódź and Poznań and further west, and then Y meaning Y section, so the other leg would be going to the south, so Wrocław. So that was the preliminary concept, but no one has seen the airport. Like no one has seen the project where all the railways would be coming to the airport, to the central airport. This is the spokes concept of the previous government. So now we made it more realistic. Next year, we are going to start the physical building of the airport. And in terms of the fast train, the exit chamber and the entry chamber, they both located in Łódź, they are ready. And those chambers were needed to actually have the entire drilling shield so that we can start to drill the tunnel for it. And by 1932, we should have the first section of the fast train. And for the time being, everything is on track. And we are not late. We are not behind the time schedule. And it is very likely that we will get funding from the European Union to pay for the first section. So if we get funding from the past financial period, financial framework, some funding for the first section of this fast train, there is a greater likelihood that we will get additional funding under the new programming. And Poland may become an infrastructure hub, in the railway infrastructure hub in this part of Europe. Obviously, this is all with the caveat that the war in Ukraine will come to the end and there will be more railway traffic in Europe. So it's not just the passenger trains, but also cargo planes. So let me turn to Alan Beroud. Do you follow the discussion between the Y and spokes concept? I would say that I would rather speak about the idea, not about Y or spokes. You need to realize that the fast speed train, is a tool that helps you travel long distance. And you cannot mix that with the regional traffic. The fast speed trains make sense when you look at the long distances. If you want to achieve the speed of 300 or 350 kilometers per hour, you cannot travel for just 30 kilometers. It makes no sense. These are different tools. Obviously, the fast speed trains have to be combined with the regional trains. This is like the same for the road system. You have highways and you have local roads. But these are two different tools. So the fast speed trains are supposed to bring passenger streams on large distances. And as we heard earlier, the fast speed trains should first connect Warszawa, Łódź, and Poznań, and later it should connect Poznań to Berlin and the rest of Europe. Because the project that we are talking about is the project that we are lobbying for as the European Railway Community. And I've been just elected the chair of this community. So this is one big project to connect all the European capital cities with fast speed trains. Why? because we want to bring them closer together so that we become a strong region, European region. Just look at China, 45,000 kilometers of fast-speed railway. So that helps you connect industrial hubs, and that would help connect European hubs. That's what you need in the contemporary world to have competitive advantage. So whether this is 300 per hour or 250 per hour, it makes sense? I think that this discussion makes no sense. I think that we should really focus on what we want to achieve, and we have to choose the right tool for that. If we say Warsaw to Berlin through Poznań, obviously it's better to travel at 300 kilometers per hour because you want to connect them. And you want to take a look at the technology that is used to build fast-speed trains, whether in Arab countries or in China, and just see what tool is the most effective with such distances. And definitely you should target the train that goes 300 kilometers per hour or more. For Poland, like within Poland, 200 is enough. Beyond Poland, it could be faster. Why I say 200 kilometers per hour in Poland? Because Warsaw and Poznań is just 300 kilometers. So if you travel at the speed of 200 kilometers per hour, you just take a bit longer than 1 hour to travel from Warsaw to Poznań. And if you travel on that route twice or 3 times a week, that's good enough. But let's say that someone lives in Poznań and works in Warsaw. No, I'm saying that we are not really expecting that someone from Poznań is going to work physically in Warsaw or the other way around. We're just saying that we want to bring those cities closer together, but just to shorten the travel time. If this travel time is 1 hour or so, it makes sense. Whether this is 50 minutes or 1 hour and 15 minutes, it doesn't matter really if you travel on that route twice a week or so. It will matter on the more long-term connections. Okay, let me turn to the Minister of Infrastructure. I think that you wanted to take the floor. Yes, I wanted to speak on the matter. I think that you wanted to respond when I asked about 200 or 300. Well, sometimes I take part in this discussion. Sometimes I tweet about Epsilon concept and whether this is 250 or 320. I think that it matters because we either bet on higher effectiveness of the investment, or you just want to cut off a few minutes more. I travel between Warsaw and Łódź by train, so I came by train, and today the fastest train is 65 minutes. Is it going to be a success when this train will actually travel 61 minutes, so 4 minutes less compared than today? Today, these trains carry over 2.5 million passengers between Łódź and Warsaw. So the capex is 20 million zlotys, and then you cut off 4 minutes from your travel time. This is the comparison that we see today. So if we build the high throughput infrastructure, if you look at Europe, all such projects were showing reduced travel time compared to the existing lines. But on this route between Warsaw and Łódź, we cannot squeeze more in terms of travel time. So 65 minutes is and stays with us. So it's been 15 years since we modernized that railway line. So 15 years ago, we said it's 65 minutes, and we have 65 minutes. Now everyone wants to have 35 minutes or 38 minutes. This is what we are forecasting for Warsaw-Łódź section. So we are going to cut off not just 4 minutes, but a half hour. But that takes a humongous budget, but we have to invest in the infrastructure. So that happens when we have a train that goes 350 kilometers per hour.
So we want to offer such connections with Poznań and Wrocław, and other trains will stop more frequently. So the speed may be lower. They may stop in Minsk, Sieradz, Kalisz, Dębno. And as a matter of principle, we are not rediscovering anything new. What we want to offer is a model which already functions, which has been tested, because high-speed trains nowadays, or actually over the last 30 years, have been a segment of European railway that has been growing the most. So we look at analysis performed by the central airport or other models, and we do not build or construct just for the sake of cutting a ribbon. I come from Poznań. I'm practical. I don't want to spend money on things that are not effective for the passengers. I'm against politicians enjoying that somebody built something new. This is not my way of thinking. This is billions of zlotys, and we need to invest them properly. So we are not forcing any doors open. We want to correlate medium investments with the speed in the whole network of railway in Poland. We want to add or supplement the existing network with fast tracks, and we do not intend to create a separated system on a section of 300 kilometers or on. You looked at the scale of the investment. We are talking about systemic transformation of Polish railways and aviation. Actually, all people on internet have an opinion about that. And my question is the level of emotions helpful for decision makers or for contractors, or is it actually making the situation more difficult? Well, first of all, let's start with the initial thought behind a fast speed train. The central port, which was created in 2010, was integrated with two infrastructural programs. One was the governmental program of developing motorways, and the second thing was a program which focused on creating a dense network of highways. And that was elaborated on the basis of the Y on Ypsilon concept. And the concept also provided for creating a huge hub that would service especially long-distance flights. Initially, the concept was not to create just another airport in Poland. Well, now airports in Poland, also in this city, we are now flying to different destinations, and we focus on local traffic. So if anybody wants to fly, say, to Asia or through the ocean, for them, communicating or traveling to the central airport should be accessible and easy, which does not mean we need to build 5 railway lines for high-speed trains, which would stop in every second town, because that will not be a fast speed train anymore. So is there a need to connect a railway line from any location in Poland to a hub? The Epsilon solution was developed when we thought of joining the European structure of high-speed trains. We wanted to connect Paris, Brussels, Berlin, and Poznań, and other Western cities. And Wrocław was the branch that was meant to connect the southern destinations, so Italian high-speed trains and south of Europe, actually, where we have some interesting investments. So summing up, this is really a strange discussion and a strange dispute. Let's do the Epsilon concept. We've been struggling with this concept for 20 years already. We have this major network of motorways, A2, S7, and the access roads. Let's monitor the needs on an ongoing basis. Let's see where the greatest traffic appears, and then add to the existing infrastructure on an as-needed basis. And let me digress. This is not just a Polish situation. In France, TGV stops at 2 small stations, and it was political decisions. And by the way, a high-speed train also stops in 2 places, small stations in Germany. But this is not the direction I want to take. Okay. Well, I understand that Minister of Infrastructure would like to react. Yes, we are not reinventing the wheel. French people have interim stations on high-speed lines. Also, Germans have them. Spaniards and Italians did the same. This is how the system operates. And what you mentioned, it's quite important. We have to look at the numbers. Numbers are available. And in what we are doing with infrastructure, we need to rely on analysis. The internet discussion that is going on, it's so emotional. We experience that. And many people do not rely on any data. Many data that is not connected to the source, and so it may be just misinformation. So when we look at real numbers, we need to see the traffic that commutes between Warsaw and Łódź. We know it's 2.5 million passengers between Warsaw and Wrocław. It's way more than 1 million. In Wrocław-Poznań, it's around 1 million. So in this system, we need to attract more passengers. We need to convince them to use trains. But going back to the airport, it's also an interesting thing. Nowadays, 55% of Okęcie passengers are people from Warsaw and the region, Mazowsze. Warsaw generates 27% of passengers. It's the city of Warsaw, and Mazowsze, which is the suburban communes of around Wrocław. And when we add neighboring regions, it's 70% of passengers on this airport. So they are from Mazowieckie and neighboring provinces. There was a concept of spokes, but this concept failed over time. Why? It's because majority of passengers who will be traveling by train have a destination which is not the airport. They are traveling from Warsaw to Łódź, from Warsaw to Szczecin, Wrocław, or other destinations. In the railway system, which includes the railway hub, the trains traveling through the airport will carry 70% of passengers who will never place their foot on the airport, will not fly, are not planning to relocate or use the airport, which clearly shows that bringing people by trains to the airport is not reasonable. The analysis show it's not reasonable. Oh, we used to have this slogan, "Do not move our capital from Warsaw to Krakow." And now let's have a representative of the Łódź voivodeship. And my question is, what is your perspective? Is this an economic revolution coming? When will this transform your economy? All the microphones are working now. So, of course, this would be a huge economic shift, a transformation of 21st century. We're looking at this discussion from a perspective of Łódź, whether it's Epsilon or spokes. We are always advanced. So whether it's Epsilon or spokes, it always passes through Łódź. So you were comfortable with any solution? Well, some time ago, there was a concept to connect Warsaw with Gdańsk first. I'm glad this vision was changed. So this is a great challenge. This will be a huge economic leap. And I'm more optimistic than my colleague when it comes to railways. I believe accessing Warsaw in 35 minutes will allow for a situation of people living in Łódź and working in Warsaw. Don't you think it's a risk? Well, commuting in 35 minutes is definitely a joyous idea. For people who want to work, it's okay. For people who want to develop their career, they would have to move to Warsaw. But the living expensive and the cost of apartments in Łódź are smaller. So by car, it takes more than 1 hour. Now, 35 minutes is quite something. Now, Łódź is at risk of being depopulated. So investment ideas may help us reverse the situation. And actually, how about people from Warsaw traveling to Łódź in 35 minutes? I wish that was happening. Now, when we talk about railways and other big investment projects, we shall not forget about smaller projects, quite relevant also. So we have regional railways in Łódź that our inhabitants love. They use it a lot. We want to develop it. We are now transporting 11 million passengers. Now, capacity is a challenge. When the tunnel is constructed for high-speed trains, we could actually convert long-distance traffic from the regional lines to the main line. So we would be able to still develop regional lines. And we're also building together with the government new railway lines in our province. We will be building new connections in the next 3 years between Bełchatów, Węglówka, Wieluń, and Węglówka. So we also have a connection from Bełchatów to Piotrków. More opportunities coming. And we, as the province, as the operator, would be able to transport even as many as 22 million inhabitants yearly. But the key thing here is the capacity. So we would like to ask the ministry to remember that there are small-scale projects, but are compatible with the big projects, and they may have a synergistic effect, and they are so important. Also, electrification is important. We still have lines that are not electrified. Bottlenecks, like the line to Kutno, are crucial. This is central Poland. It's the main northbound connection, and it's one lane. in one truck. So we are counting on adding another truck to Kutno, because nowadays this truck is operating with 100% capacity, and we are not able to get any further with this line. And there are also some inexpensive possibilities. For instance, truck blocking system. For those of you who are not familiar with this technicality, the trucks that have no system allow moving a train from a station when the train before actually exits the station. A system accelerates that situation, so we could actually be able to use a specific truck more often. And also you need to remember that it's not possible to adjust schedules to the needs of the inhabitants well, because long-distance trains have priority. If our trucks have more capacity, the local inhabitants will only benefit. Okay, I have so many different ideas. I understand the secretary is taking notes. Well, today on my way to Łódź, I asked what should be added or developed on the tracks, on the local tracks. But let's go back to the political layer. And I talk about dates. So when is the first takeoff planned? The president wanted to mention a date. Do you think we should put pressure on the government to be able to set a date? Well, first of all the projects that we are discussing, both concerning railways and airplanes, can be implemented when the money is there. The government of Tusk said that within the next 7 years, we will want to spend money on railway infrastructure, not just on high-speed trains. Now, without the EU's support, it would definitely be difficult, realistic but still difficult. Is it possible to get co-financing from the EU? Well, in the new financial framework that was presented by Piotr Serafin, the commissioner, and the head of the EU, it's not approved yet. There is funding allocated for the railway project of 50 billion euros, so more than 200 billion zlotys, way over 200. And this is a good signal. It's because in many areas, in many parts of the budget, there are lower allocations. It's because it's the first time in the EU that a lot of money is spent on security, from obvious reasons. I don't want to develop that. Poland alone is receiving around 170 billion zlotys on that area. But speaking about budget for the rail, it's much higher than in the current financial framework.
Chcę powiedzieć, że w tej chwili pracujemy w naszej komisji.
Currently, I'm the shadow reporter for the important project about military mobility, basically the mobility of the armed forces. So we want to make sure that the European Union provides financing for the dual-purpose infrastructure investments. During the peacetime, it's for civilians. During the wartime, it's for the swift allocation or reallocation of troops and military equipment. Well, look, you have a tank and it's 70 tons. We know that not all the bridges and the roads can take this load. So the upcoming budget is like 70 billion euro. Under current framework, it's 1.7 billion. So there is a multiplier of 10. Why is it so important? Because with this budget, we are able to fund important railway and road infrastructure projects and access roads to airports and to seaports as part of the military mobility. So it's not only CF, but also other programs. Now, the point is to be effective, to actually make the projects the right way and to make them cross-border, not just for us, but for the European Union as such. The EU has no interest in having us building this Polish-only fast-speed train. The EU wants to make sure that we are connected with other European capital cities to the west and to the south. So we are prepared. The European Union is really betting on the rail, and we want to jump on that train. And years ago, all the investment was in roads and stadiums. Now the most important infrastructure project would be railway. But Polish people love trains because Polish trains are timely and comfy, and there are many connections. And like 20, 30 years ago, there were fewer connections. We had last year over 400 million passengers. And I think that 2025 would be another record high year. We had nearly 210 million passengers for the first 6 months. So if we keep doing it, we will set a new record, or we will break a new record. So to say it simply, there will be many beneficiaries, Poles, Europeans. The question is when the first aircraft is going to take off from the central airport. That I don't know. But I know that this project is very challenging. Now, even bringing all the commodities to that site. If you look at the highway going from Warsaw to Łódź, it's one of the main roads to carry all the commodities needed for building. So there are so many question marks along the way. So everyone wants to see that like 32 or 33, but the most important thing is to start doing it. Let's not talk about it, let's do it. Our Prime Minister's claim, we are doing, not just talking. I think that this is the way to go. Doesn't matter whether it's us or them, let's just do it. Okay, so if we are looking forward to 2030 or 32, what would be the challenges for the railway in terms of preparatory work? Well, recently we read that we had like thousands of new highways built over the past decades, but not much gain in railways. Well, if you want to speak about challenges, they are numerous, but we are in a really good situation. Until 2032, Poland has the largest budget for railway development in history, of nearly 50 billion euro. And this funding is for everything. For new rolling stock, for infrastructure, and it is happening as we speak. We are witnessing the railway revolution. We are not talking, we're doing. So you say that I'm not optimistic. I am totally optimistic. So if you travel between Warsaw and Łódź, and if this is like 40 minutes, it's enough to have a train that goes at 200 kilometers per hour. And we already placed the order for double-deck trains. So again, we cannot escape this discussion, 200 or 300 kilometers per hour. I think that when you modernize the infrastructure, then it's okay. Well, anyway, double decks have already been purchased. 47 cars have been ordered, 200 kilometers per hour. And I think that it would be a revolution in the Polish railway system. Pendolino was the first breakthrough, when Polish people suddenly noticed that the train can be fast and comfy, and it was just 20 cars. Now we are going to have 40 or even 70 cars that go at 200 kilometers per hour. So infrastructure projects that are currently pursued by the Polish railway company, it's the new reality. And for the region of Łódź, what would be most important thing, going forward to Łódź or going from Łódź someplace else? So looking at this time perspective until 2032. Usually it's 50% chance that you get the right mic. Okay, now we are on. So for the region of Łódź, which connections are more important? Incoming to Łódź, or so regional traffic, or intercity traffic? I think you cannot look like that at railway system. People who live in Łódź want to be able to travel someplace else. At the same time, we want to invite people from other parts of Poland and Europe to come to Łódź and our region. So, you know, this is traffic that goes both ways, and this is growth that happens with this traffic. The tunnel, high-speed train, and the central airport would be a huge opportunity, economic opportunity for our region and for Poland. It's not just the window to the world in terms of tourism. Estimates show that it could be up to 250,000 new jobs if we have the central airport, because central airport would be close by. So I understand that you will compete with the neighboring region of Mazowsza. Yes, it's not just about the construction process. Construction process is 40,000 jobs, but then there are services. So it's jobs, it's, you know, it's a lot of commercial activity, it's transit. So when you look at the Polish cargo industry, we are really at the disadvantage compared to the rest of Europe. The Warsaw Airport cannot handle that much cargo traffic. The new airport would be able to handle 1 million tons of air cargo. So again, this is another source of growth. It's new jobs, it's new tax revenue, it's us being more affluent. In 2016, the direct connection between Warsaw and Seoul was opened. And from that time, our trade went up from 700 million to 1.8 billion, or 1.2 billion. And it's been 8 years. So the trade multiplied exponentially. So direct intercontinental connection is a huge growth opportunity. And we believe that we are going to be part of this growth. You mentioned some other airports, and let me ask some questions about it. So what about other airports? What are they going to do about it? They will lose passengers if the new airport is built. Well, I can rely on the studies that were performed much earlier, some years ago. And the studies showed that there is enough room for more airports. So Central Airport does not pose the risk to the local airports, although its impact on Łódź, given the high-speed train, can be expected. Because if it just takes 30 minutes to get to the central airport, well, it will matter for sure. But if you look at the other airports, I think that they can handle that. I think that each of you, when you travel, you just look at various airports, not just your local airport. So you look at the 2 or 3 or 4 airports that you have nearby. And then another important thing is air cargo. And this is where the regional ports matter. I remember our discussion with the railway some time ago. I have to say that I'm hooked on Karsznice hub, because at that time Karsznice were in trouble. You could tell that this town that was built in the 1920s for the railway industry and for the railway people. And this is, in a sense, the historical monument. They lost their main function, and it could be one of the largest multimodal hubs in this part of Poland. But it requires a lot of other functionalities. We have railway from Katowice to Gdańsk, etc. We have Lubinek airport that could be a partner if they handle cargo. And what is important for the multimodal transport, Karsznice hub would actually combine them with the system of highways and the expressways. So the railway cargo would be reloaded to the trucks and shipped to the logistics centers. In Łódź, all around, you have logistic parks. And I had a pleasure to contribute to one of those logistics centers. And I think that if we integrate roads, railway, and air transport, and not just in terms of passenger traffic, but also cargo traffic, I think that this is what we expect from the modern system. If we are going to be competing seriously in the international transport markets, we cannot just say, okay, we are okay with good transport, but no, railway, no, we are not going to do it because we don't have capacity to handle that. And in case of air transport, because air cargo is a very specific transport and you need to have a high precision capability. So if they are going to switch to the road transport for the distribution, then the question is how far it takes you to get to the hub and how far is to get to the railway connection.
So we are talking about something more than just an airport, a motorway, or epsilon or other. We are talking about new model, a new transport system. And I'm not talking about air transport, railway transport, or other. By the way, Karsznice has a name. It's called a dry port for railway, because anything that arrived in Gdańsk would end up in Karsznice on its way south. Well, you mentioned an important motive, and I would like the Undersecretary to react, but also the MP would like to react. Well, I want to add 2 important things, because this will be an important reloading hub, and we do not have any representatives from Polish Railways cargo. And the concept of putting truckloads, trailers on trucks is quite a serious one, an important one. Today, the Chopin Airport handles about 20 million passengers. We are talking about 35 to 40 million passengers on the new airport when the airport is opened, and eventually even as many as 80 million. So that is a challenge. What happens to the other regional airports? And one of the ideas, as Radosław mentioned, is handling cargo traffic. But that will be a challenge. We can see already, I know that one politician mentioned Radom is closer to Africa than Warsaw, but let's be serious in our arguments. That is a challenge. So this is how I look at that. Undersecretary of State, the question is about new modes, new methods of transport, because Okęcie might remain an airport and serve an important function for new modalities. So now we can be just imaginative and creative. We saw flying cabs, and we saw pictures like from Return to the Future. But this is a serious question. Is it something that we should be looking at, planning space for a new mode of transport not in use yet? Well, our ministry is not dealing with new forms of transport, but maybe somebody should. Yes, somebody should, because we see how intense the development is nowadays when we look at drones. But let's focus on the existing modes of transport, like the ones in which we have 180 passengers, so train and plane. These are the forms of transport I'm interested in. And we have said it already. We need to develop parallel systems. For instance, I want 20 million passengers to be transported on a daily basis. These are commuting people, students traveling to get to schools. And this is why we are developing the infrastructure in the region. We have to deal with bottlenecks to attract everyday passengers, the commuters. I'm focusing on the areas that I'm responsible for. Adam mentioned the speed of 250 kilometers per hour. In the Epsilon solution, it's not enough. We have to achieve higher speed, because one of the distinguishing features in case of high-speed trains and anything that has to do with high speed in Europe, it significantly shortens the travel time compared to the previous version. Rome to Florence, more than 1 hour less. Paris, Lyon, it's also more than half an hour less. Spanish cuts are more than 3 hours less from Madrid to Barcelona. So usually the previous parameter was 160 kilometers per hour. The new speed is 320 kilometers, sometimes 250 plus kilometers per hour. So today I focus on what will allow creating a successful solution in terms of high-speed train that would complement the existing railway network. This solution was already adopted in France 40 years ago, although France does not really compare to Poland because France focuses on Paris strongly. But for instance, Germans have this axis between north and south line. It didn't connect Bonn or Berlin. It connected Hamburg with Göttingen or Kassel. So because this was how they wanted to develop a structure for communication in their polycentric approach to connect many different centers, which are medium-sized or large. We have 5 more minutes to go. We have 5 guests, so this is an ultra-fast round to summarize. Alan Beroud, you're the first president of management board of PKP-SA. What are the major structural challenges for Poland in the upcoming years? What will make us take this major leap towards the West? Well, infrastructure is not my field. I thought you would focus on railways. Well, in this minute that is mine, I'd like to react on what the Undersecretary mentioned. It seems like we are adversaries, but this is not the case. I agree with your position. So with the Epsilon solution, in order to justify the expenditure, we need to take into account 300 plus speed. And this is why we are building high-speed railways. To connect Warsaw, Łódź, and Poznań, and then Berlin and other European capitals. Now, I mentioned 200 kilometers per hour in the context of this speed being accessible on the existing infrastructure any day now. So, and the biggest challenge, this is the high-speed railways, because it's different voltage, new stock, and it's new solutions, something we have no experience with. So we need to learn new skills, we need to get new technological advantage, and it's a new project, something we have not done before. Now, Robert Kulczynski, the Secretary of Łódź province. The challenge is for my region or for the country? I understand you will choose the first perspective. Well, in my opinion, it's not the infrastructure that is the challenge, but it's the depopulation both in the region and in Poland. But infrastructure, at least to some degree, can prevent or can counteract depopulation. When high-speed trains appear, I deeply believe the inhabitants of Łódzkiego region will not move out from Łódź or the neighboring or sub-regional cities or towns. Transportation enables inhabitants to stay in their current apartments, and I believe maintaining the number of inhabitants is a great challenge, and infrastructure can help us with this challenge. Now, the former Minister of Infrastructure, we want to connect Poland to a high-speed system in Europe, and my dream is that in several years, instead of selecting different modes of transport, I would like to just go to a railway station and take a train to get to Lisbon quickly. Now, MP Dariusz Joński, well, my perspective is one of a politician. So I look at what politicians can and must do. We need to secure financing. That's a huge challenge because it's a very ambitious project. We have to do that both in the domestic budget, but also in the European budget. We need to fight for every single zloty to be invested in the railway, because this is the time for railway, and we MPs and ministers are all for this. Passengers also support this idea. And now the Undersecretary of State, Piotr Malepszak, infrastructure. Well, we need to reinforce the share of railways in the transportation market. And during the next 3 years, we want to reach 500 million passengers. This year we will end with 430 million. So we're aiming at half a billion, but we want to stabilize railway transport because now the numbers actually stagnated. So we want to put a lot of attention to the cargo cargo function. Again, Alan Beroud, Robert Kulczynski, Dariusz Joński, Piotr Malepszak. Thank you, gentlemen. My name is Karol Surówka.
Well, Atlas Network is, as the name suggests, a network, and it's global. We work all around the world. We're based in the U.S. It's a network, that is to say, organizations that share common values of limited government, of free enterprise, personal liberty, personal responsibility.
Atlas Network provides training and support to help build capacity, but most importantly, we give our partners the tools they need to be successful.
Mam plan na bezpieczną firmę. To plan firmowy z cybertarczą, która blokuje zagrożenia w sieci.
Cyberbezpieczeństwo? Masz od tego Orange. Teraz cybertarcza za 0 zł we wszystkich planach firmowych, a w wybranych smartfony 50% taniej. Orange tu jest.
Telewizja Polska to więcej tego, co widzowie cenią najbardziej. Pasjonujące filmy i seriale, a w obsadzie najbardziej gorące nazwiska. Największe sportowe imprezy i momenty, które przejdą do historii. Bieżące wydarzenia, którymi żyje Polska i świat. Przebojowe koncerty, które łączą w zabawie wszystkich Polaków. Znakomite spektakle, które gromadzą rekordową publiczność. Telewizja Polska. Otwórz się na więcej.
Do zgłoszeń? Gotowi? Start!
Ja zgłoszę bibliotekę!
Ja, pierwszy pasem w gminie.
Ja amfiteatr od naszej orkiestry. Wszystko w waszych rękach. Co powstanie dzięki wsparciu totalizatora sportowego w twojej okolicy? Zgłoś obiekt sportowy lub kulturalny. Wejdź na stronę gdygrasz.pl, bo gdy grasz, wszystko gra.
Kiedy zapala się lampka on air, to jest najlepszy moment.
Nie ma jednego instrumentu, który lubię najbardziej. To zawsze jest kontekst.
Uwielbiam sport bez obrazu właśnie z tej perspektywy, kiedy to ja mogę ten obraz kreować.
Pusty stadion nie jest cichy. Tam gołębie startują.
Jak ja bym chciała, żeby z mojego radia było słychać "Będzie okej".
Ono może być cichutko w tle. Radio, które jest przyjacielem tego odbiorcy, przyjacielem człowieka.
Do PKO Banku Polskiego przenosi się nowy klient.
Weź się, przenieść się jest easy. Czaruś, wytłumacz.
Otwierasz konto w PKO Banku Polskim i masz święty spokój. Przyniosą kasę i zlecenia stałe, a pracodawcę poinformują. Ogarniesz to przez internet, bo to dobry bank jest.
Ej, widzę cię. Wolisz w oddziale? Dawaj do nas.
Otwórz konto w PKO Banku Polskim i dołącz do 12 milionów klientów. PKO, twój bank polski.
PL Music Video Awards, festiwal polskich wideoklipów, spotkania, projekcje, warsztaty, do tego gala finałowa i wybór najlepszych polskich teledysków. Zapraszamy do Łodzi 4-6 grudnia, szczegóły na www.plmva.com.
Myślisz, że to ktoś wyjątkowy, miłośnik kultury, kto sypie cytatami z pamięci. A to może być ktoś, kto na wakacje pakuje książkę, tę samą co rok temu. To możesz być ty. Bo czytanie nie jest dla wybranych, jest dla wszystkich. Podziel się tym.
Polska stolica kultury. Jesteś na miejscu.
It can look like this. Or like this. It is threatened. But it is our responsibility to protect it. For each person, it means something different. But when we reach it, we all know what it looks like, what it sounds like, or how it feels. And if we all fight for it, it will eventually bring us together. Freedom.
So we just had an emergency landing in Poland, in Łódź. Yeah, don't worry guys, we won't be here for long. Lads, hello vlog. So I know we were supposed to show you some wild animals and a bit more sun, but
yeah, instead we have to spend 2 days in this boring place.
Come on.
Did you say boring? I will show you beautiful nature and animals and even more. And you will see what this region has to offer. Deal?
So we said yes, because why not, right? And this girl took us around the whole region. We ate pierogies. We saw some Polish art. We saw some wild animals. We got spiritual. And after all, we fell in love with this place.
W kinie doceniam prawdziwe emocje.
Na boisku pilnuję czystej gry.
W kuchni poszukuję autentycznych smaków.
Ale w internecie jest to trudniejsze.
W internecie wobec informacji też trzeba być sędzią. Dezinformacja jest jak bramka strzelona ze spalonego.
Więc jeśli coś we mnie wzbudza emocje, daję sobie czas. Może ktoś specjalnie chce mnie zagotować, bym uległa manipulacji.
Filtruj informacje.
Sprawdzaj ich źródła.
Nie masz pewności? Nie udostępniaj.
Postaw na czysty przekaz.